And so if you're struggling to forgive someone, just remember that they're still a human and they are naturally going to make mistakes. So nowadays, from my experiences and stories that I've been told, it is much harder to forgive people who have done you wrong. And the art of actually forgiving someone has kind of died down recently. Even if someone makes a small mistake, some people find it really hard to forgive. And if they make a big mistake, a mistake which they did not mean to do, people still find it hard to forgive. And so if you're struggling to forgive, or you want to learn how to forgive people more easily, let me give you some tips and advice. I'll read to you first a bit from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations, where he talks about how to forgive someone. The passage goes as follows. When someone does you wrong, you should consider immediately what judgment of good or evil led him to wrong you. When you see this, you will pity him and not feel surprise or anger. You yourself either still share his view of good or something like it, in which case you should understand and forgive. If, on the other hand, you no longer judge such things as either good or evil, it will be easier for you to be patient with the unsighted. So what Marcus Aurelius is saying is that it's the actions that lead people to doing bad things and evil things. No one is intrinsically a bad person. And if that's something you can't, grasp, I thought of a technique which works for me really well, to remember that everyone is still human and that it is only human, only natural to make mistakes. So the first technique is to, the person you can't forgive or anything, picture them eating their food. Any meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, but just them eating. Such a human thing to do, right? No matter how much money you have, or no matter how poor you are, no matter where you live in the world, everyone has to eat food. And so if you're struggling to forgive someone, just remember that they're still a human and they are naturally going to make mistakes. And like that, they have to eat their food as well. Just imagining them eating food really brings the realization that they're just human in the end. And that, for me, personally, really, calms me down and doesn't anger me or anything. And the second technique, which really helps me remember that everyone is human and helps me forgive people, is that everyone has parents. Of course, we can't generalize this to 100% of the population, but for a good amount, they were brought up with love and, their parents really loved them. And the way they act now, if they've, for example, done something bad to you or they've mistakenly hurt you, just remember that they came out of a place of love, as in they grew up out of a place of love. And the actions that they do now, it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. It's the circumstances that they've been put through in life, at least from maybe when they're growing up or more recently, that have caused them to cause you harm. And that in the end, just like the initial first point I said, everyone is human and it is natural for humans to make mistakes. Otherwise we don't grow. The biggest teacher, in my opinion, or one of the biggest teachers, is mistakes. Because from that, you know what not to do and you can progress and become better in the future. So yeah, that's it. Those are my two techniques and a bit from Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. My final advice is just to summarize everything. The first technique, if you are struggling to forgive someone, is to imagine them eating their food. Because that's such a human thing to do, and no matter how rich or poor you are, no matter where you live in the world, everyone eats food. And the second technique is to remember that they most likely, of course we can't generalize this, but they grew up with loving parents, and that they were not born into this world evil. It's the circumstances that they've gone through which caused them to act this way and maybe hurt you. And if you can truly understand this, no matter how bad of a deed someone does to you, you can learn to let go and you can learn to forgive them. Thank you for watching this video, guys. Just remember that it is only human to make mistakes, and it takes a strong-willed person to forgive someone and understand that in the end, we are all humans. And being able to forgive someone is truly a wonderful characteristic. Thank you.